Hey, welcome back after a long time to the SDR Hire Podcast. I'm your host, Stefan. And if you're new to the channel, this is a place where you can learn from top producing salespeople what it's like working in tech sales, how do you break in, what do companies look for, and how to succeed as an SDR, all for free. Now, this episode is important for two reasons. One, we haven't had a new episode for the past 7 months, so it's a thrill to be on the show again. And the second thing is this show is going to have a new co host. So without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce you all to Srba Markovic. This guy is an inspiration. At 40 years old, after a decade of sales experience in banking and telco, he decided he wanted to break into tech sales. The first thing he did, he started listening to the SDR Hire podcast. So in a short while, he got hired as an SDR in a company called Deck Robot. Few months in, he got promoted really quickly to SDR leadership role and has been crushing it ever since. Today, Srba is well known on LinkedIn and is recognized and respected as a thought leader when it comes to building and growing SDRs and SDR teams. So Srba, my friend, I'm stoked to have you with us.
Wow, what amazing intro. Thank you, Stefan, so much for the shout out. It's really amazing to be on this podcast. And I am glad that we are finally back after seven months of break, as you mentioned yourself. And even more thrilled that I will be the one to continue your legacy. As you mentioned, I never hide this. I keep actually saying all the time that SDR Hire podcast was probably the first podcast that I started watching, and it really helped me a lot, especially the early stage of my tech sales career. So happy to be here and happy to continue this.
Amazing, dude. Amazing. And I'm glad that you mentioned your early, career as an SDR and your beginnings. So I'm actually really interested in your backstory. And so, how did this background of being in sales, especially as in banking in telecommunications, did it help transitioning into the tech sales, into the SDR role, and what did that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when you are 40 years of age, I guess it's always good to tell the story. How the hell did you start, and how did I end up in the tech sales overall? Yes, having some managerial positions in some of the leading 10 companies and banking really helped a lot. I also have an MBA degree, which is really kind of tells that I've been investing in myself a lot in terms of education and learning. And this is something I keep saying to young SDRs all the time. You guys need to invest all the time. So in my case, I lost the job, honestly, I lost the job. I was out of market for a couple of months, but I looked more on a positive side of that story. I just started investing heavily in myself. I was reading any possible material on the tech sales that is available. I was listening some of the podcasts, including SDR Hire Podcast, of course, and took some courses. Some of them were free on Coursera, LinkedIn. Some of them are paid through Coursera that really helped me learn everything about tech sales. And tech sales was really an inspiration for me because I believe everything, nowadays it's, SaaS as a business model is awesome. I see a great potential. And I think being a seller at any stage, either as a SDR or SDR leader or account executive, is just a great industry to be in, because tech sales is probably one of the fastest growing industries. And that's what I decided to make a shift. And I have no regrets, for sure.
Amazing, and I love it, especially the way you are looking at the SaaS industry. For the audience, SaaS stands for software as a service. It's a unique business model, but it's basically selling software to other companies, which is where SDR, I think, kind of originated from as a role, because companies needed somebody to start booking meetings for them, and that's basically the initial role that Srba landed in Deck Robot. So can you perhaps walk us through what that experience was like, the interview process, how long it was, and how did you end up as an SDR in Deck Robot?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't easy to break into tech. I'm not gonna lie there. Being a 40 years of age with no tech sales experience, it's always kind of risky. So my approach was a little bit different. First, I found one or two companies at the time that I feel I would be passionate about selling their products and solutions. I think the passion is very important, not so much the money. Money is never a good motivator in a long run, but it's really a passion, because you really have to be passionate about what you sell, and you really want to be passionate about helping really prospects, not just like looking for your monthly or quarterly bonuses. So I found that robot, that AI tool for PowerPoint presentations seemed awesome. Obviously, AI is still a hype, especially a year ago. It was a big hype around AI, and I just thought this was a great place to be in. And instead, applying regularly, sending my email, or and I took a little bit different approach, honestly. I reached out a few SDRs from that robot, and I reached out one or two account executives, and I was lucky enough to book one. It was rather half an hour call with one of our SDRs, who really walked me through. He introduced all the challenges and what's our ICP and targeted personas, what is the quota attainment, what are some of the challenges of sales teams. And this kind of call really helped me prepare for what was next. And the next was obviously an interview with account executive. And guess what? I was already a connection on LinkedIn with this guy, so we exchanged few rather short messages, but the guy was kind of familiar with me. So when we jumped on the call, it felt like we were friends from the very first second, and that really helped kind of put the positive tonality on the call. And yeah, it landed me a job. That's for sure. So those are my approaches.
Wow, man, you really took the effort of, getting in front of that company, getting in front of the leadership that would eventually hire you. So again, I mean, this has been a topic that keeps repeating itself over and over again on this podcast, which is like, doing the extra effort of standing out, knowing who you're talking with, and just like,
Yeah.
I think you demonstrated how you would approach booking more meetings or whatever, like
I
hunting
mean,
for sales in that robot.
absolutely, Stefan. That's the same way. I would just add one additional piece of information, because, I figured there were like 120 applications for that role, and they were like hiring at that moment, I think 3, 4, maybe 5 SDRs. So I figured there was no way I could I could stand out from the crowd. I mean, there were some awesome folks applying. So I said, you know what, I have to do something differently. So I crafted my 90-day plan, which is, I try to visualize myself in that company, and how would possibly my first 3 months look like in that organization. So I crafted the basic plan. There's nothing like, maybe definitely wasn't the perfect one, but it was good enough. It shows like month 1, month 2, and month 3, and break down into like weeks, what exactly I'm gonna do in week 1, week 2, week 3, and show my gradual improvement with some numbers and activities. Like, I don't know, the calling that I will be making, the emails that I will be sending. It really showed the consistency and discipline that I want to obviously to reflect within my character. And I just shared them the document, and I said, guys, I'm most likely not the best candidate for you, but this is what I have for you. And if you just give me the opportunity, this is exactly what I will be doing for the next 3 months. And after 3 months, if that's not good, please, you can fire me. I'll be okay with that. They look at this, and I could tell that, they're gonna send me an offer, which they did, luckily.
Well, you and I didn't know each other back then, but I could have told you the same thing. Like that level of
Yeah,
effort and commitment to an application is just unseen usually, and it's like most candidates just hit that easy apply on
yeah,
LinkedIn and be done with it.
yeah.
And this really shows how you can really stand out. The amazing, amazing, amazing work, and I love the fact that we got a chance to tell this story live, so other people can learn from our experience as well. Now, speaking of your experience, it's a big difference when you're 23 and you land an SDR job, and then you're 40 and you land an SDR job, which obviously by the time that you got promoted. So if I understood correctly, you got promoted in just a few months, and then you entered like a sales leadership, SDR leadership role. So
Yeah.
can you walk me through how that looked
Yeah.
like, and how quickly you got promoted, and like, how did they recognize you as a good
Yeah.
candidate for
Yeah.
that position?
Yeah, that's a good question. It started as a regular SDR, just hitting my numbers day by day, and I think that consistency is really what set me apart from the rest of the SDR teams. I was never best with cold calling. I was never best with crafting all these personalized sales messages that convert, but I think I was consistent more than other, meaning I was really hitting numbers day by day with no exceptions, with no excuses. I would use weekends to prepare my best lead lists, so when I would come on Monday, everything was ready for the whole week, so there was no like waste of time in my schedules. And my daily workflow was really all set for the whole day and for the whole week. I would probably say for the whole month, early in the morning, I would, you know, send some emails, start cold calling, because cold calling is good in the morning and late afternoons. And then I would do some social activities like reaching out people on the LinkedIn and building my personal brand throughout the day. And, the whole day was planned. So I was a regular SDR, doing my job, learning, tips and tricks from tech sales industry and becoming better. I would, at the beginning, I was just copying, the top performers in that robot, so there is no secret, you take one or two top performers because they obviously do something better than you. That's why they are top performers. You just take what they do and you multiply it with 2 or 3 times, because at the early stage, you want to um, compensate for the skill gap that you obviously have by doing more activity volume than everybody else is doing. So I'm more like preaching for quantity at the beginning. As you grow, you kind of want to focus on quantity. You want on quality, sorry. So you want to kind of keep bringing only qualified meetings, not just any meetings, right? So my approach at the beginning was just, to talk with top SDRs, see what they do, try to copy some of their, stuff, and do this 2 or 3 times more, and more importantly, in a consistent way. This is something I think most of them miss. And what I'm seeing, and I often talk about this, consistently good is better than occasionally great. And that's I keep saying to everybody, and that set me apart. And just like probably after 4 months, I got the first, let's say, SDR team lead role. I was leading a rather small team, I think, of 3 SDRs that over the period that grew to 5, one moment 7, 9. We are now about 8 people. So yeah, that was my progression more or less.
So impressive, man. I mean, obviously this isn't exactly the first time that I heard this story, but I love hearing
Yeah.
it regardless. And the fact that you mentioned something that's super important, and I think only A players understand, which is how much effort it takes to be great. And I think you did like literally the perfect job, where you understood, all right, so somebody's better than me, no ego there. I'm just gonna take what's working for them, and then do it 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
as much, and then it just showed, and you
Stefan,
got
absolutely
promoted
right.
quickly.
There it is as simple as that. Somebody would think there is a more mystery around there, but there is no mystery. There are no secrets. It's really all you have to do just to identify one or two top players and, try to reach out to them, be a good friend with them, and really learn what they do and do it 2, 3 times more. And that's what you're going to
Yep.
be. And after 2 months, you can analyze your work. Obviously, there's going to be some improvements already on your record, and I'm sure you're going to start from quantity. You can slowly start like focusing more on quality,
Hmm.
and the results will I'm sure about this.
Exactly. Amazing. And I mean, just look at where you are right now. I think just recently you were named and recognized by Demandbase as um, one of 60 SDR leaders you must follow in 2023. Did I butcher that, or was that good?
Yeah. That I received. I was actually emailed and contacted last night about this from Demandbase, and was quite, humbled and but shocked, first of all, to see myself on the list with some of the very recognizable name in tech sales. Some people that I followed from the day one in my career, and now I see myself being next to them. So it always, I'm not gonna lie, it feels good, and I'm glad, that my work is being recognized, and I'm quite often people reach out to me asking for help, and they know that I always give help for free. It's either some kind of advice, sometimes it might be a short call, or sometimes we talk for a little bit longer. That's my mission. I try to help newcomers as much as I can.
I love this. I love this. It's so genuine. But one thing that stands out to me is, so like, you've been very, very active on LinkedIn, well, for quite a while now, and so this recognition from Demandbase really comes as like cherry on top. But I think the reason why it comes like that is because you've been active on LinkedIn. So what has driven that activity on LinkedIn? Like, what inspired you to start publishing content on LinkedIn?
Yeah. I've been active on LinkedIn probably like 12 months now, or like a year, maybe a bit longer. So it's not that long. I never chased likes or followers, to be very honest, Stefan, with you. That was never my intention, just to grow the number of followers and I to be a big name. That's really not my drive. What drives me, I think I have some first-hand experiences that I can share with my audience, and my market niche is obviously SDRs and SDRs leaders. So I usually talk about newcomers, how can they break into tech, because I did that myself just like a year and a half ago, so it wasn't that far away. And also having some managerial skills in the past and even now leading the outbound SDR team kind of gives me these rights to talk more and address some issues for SDRs leaders as well, because we know how coaching, everybody talks about coaching, but nobody really does it. And I kind of talk what you can do on one-on-one coachings and how you can really make your SDR team successful. And the reason for, being active on LinkedIn is I always quote this, I read somewhere, I cannot remember, it's not my quote for sure, that if I was Elon Musk, if Elon Musk wrote you a message, would you respond? And like all people say, of course I would respond to Elon Musk. But my point here is you don't have to be Elon Musk. You have to be yourself. But people want to talk to people, and you want to make sure people know you before you even reach out to them. So you don't want to be stranger, because if you are a stranger and you reach out or even you pitch your product or service, most likely it's going to be either no response or negative response. So the reason for me being active on LinkedIn and posting my content is when I reach to somebody, I am already established as a trustworthy advisor in tech sales. And when I have some business opportunity to discuss with you, or I'm reaching out for certain advices, people are more likely to talk. That's what I'm seeing. And yes, going back to maybe my main idea is really I'm driven by helping new guys break into tech. I know how it is to be out of the market for a couple of months when you need to support your family. Um, I have 3 kids and, like a mortgage and some other things that we have. And so I know what the pain like. And because of that experience, I want to offer my services for free. That's simply as that. And the LinkedIn is really about giving, not about getting. You need to give, and to give more. And don't ever expect to get anything in return. And guess what? Miracle will happen, and you will get more than you ever asked for. I hope that explained my presence on LinkedIn.
Oh my god, it really does. It really does. And I mean, this really ties into my next question for you. But I think you already kind of answered it, which is, what is your what would you like to achieve with the content that you're going to be creating on the SDR Hire podcast? What's your mission? What's driving you to accept being a co-host here, and what's behind the intent?
Yeah, first of all, SDR Hire Podcast was probably one of the first podcasts I ever watched. Not just like when I broke into tech, but overall, I wasn't a fan of podcasts. So SDR Hire somehow came as a first. So I never forget that. And remember, I was kind of every evening, I would probably watch one of your episodes. You always made sure you have a great SDRs and SDR leaders on your episode. So I would like pretty much every evening at least watch one episode. And that was so resourceful for me. And it really helped me improve in my career. One thing I want to accomplish is really just want to talk about SDR, tips and tricks and how to break into tech sales. We mentioned at the beginning how I made sure to stand out from the crowd when applying in Deck Robot. So some of the tricks that I wanna bring some guests that can talk about SDRs. What does it take really to be successful as an SDR? What is the activity volume? How to make yourself stand out from the crowd? Should you send more emails or should you make more dials? Or maybe you can start making personalized videos or whatever is working today, So like, I just want to chat with experts from tech sales industry in order to help SDRs be better and succeed faster. We often talk about what it takes to get promotion and like what are some of the critical career paths and steps that one SDR needs to take in order to get that promotion, hopefully Q1 of 2024. And so, yeah, just want to bring some guests, SDR leaders and account executives, maybe VPs of sales and chief revenue officers, just to talk about tech sales challenges and really help SDRs to start crushing their quotas.
Uh, exactly. That's actually that has been the mission of SDR Hire Podcast anyway, and so I am really honored to have you. But like a few reasons why I wanted specifically you to be a part of this story is because you actually live in the trenches. You feel the pain that like every SDR and account executive is feeling. You are in the market, you have your fingers on the pulse, you understand what's going on. And by the way, you're selling to one of the toughest markets in the sense of the size of your market. You're selling into the enterprise market, so that's especially hard. And also, at the end of the day, what each and every person is going through, and I think you can really talk to these pains and challenges and frustrations, as well as the nice things that these people can are going through. And so I think that you're really the right person to
absolutely. Hey, you said it right. I think leading by example is super powerful leadership style. You cannot make anybody make more dials if you don't pick up phone yourself, right? And we have all these leaders telling you what to do, but they don't do it themselves. And like reps, just like everybody else, they look at their managers. And if you are not the one doing it, why the hell would I do it? What makes me do that? Right? Yeah, there is my salary and I have to secure my job. But if I don't like cold calling and like I don't see my leaders doing it neither, why would I make more dials? And it doesn't make sense. So I think I always like being in the trenches with my team, and that's so super powerful. I know what's the like. I see many people on LinkedIn, telling that SDR is the entry level role and it's so easy. Yeah, I keep telling them, be an SDR for 2 weeks and then we can talk again. Just hitting numbers each and every day, getting all these rejections on not a daily basis, on a hourly basis, and all kinds of rejections. And you have to stay focused and motivated to come back tomorrow and do it again, and again deal with all these rejections. Especially in enterprise sales, we understand that there is a global recession, and the budgets are tightened, and sales cycles are even pending. They're not like 6 or 9 months. They might last like for the whole year. So it's really challenging in enterprise sales. So just understanding the pain and challenges they go on a daily basis is a good leadership style. I also want to talk a little bit about empathy and some other social skills. I see leaders just looking at numbers, like how many emails did you send, how many cold calls did you make, how many LinkedIn messages, and all of this, and measuring the input and like measuring the output. And all of the leaders are pretty much obsessed with the numbers. And yeah, numbers are always important. That's right. But like, I also want to talk with my SDRs. I usually ask them when we have these one-on-one coaching sessions, like what did work well previous week or what didn't work well. What are the channels that are doing better today and maybe they were not doing so good like 3 or 6 months ago? Some observations from markets, or did they get any feedback that would like to share with me? And maybe there are some triggers that we are identifying with certain accounts that might indicate that they are just a good account to be reached out now. And also I talk about their mental well-being, and people tell me, what the hell do you need to know that? My reps are they have private lives as well, not just business. It's not just working in our companies, but they also have some issues back home. There might be some challenges back home. For example, one of my rep whose father was sick and he had to take care of his father was asking me for a few days off, which was of course normal for me. And he would get like the whole week off. But next Monday, when he would come back on the job, he would give 200% of his effort because he understands that I'm a human being, first of all, that I understand that there are certain issues we need to take care outside of the work. And I think a good leader, like the manager is a title that you get. Being a manager, you get this by the title, right? But being a leader, you learn this by getting respect from your reps. So calling yourself a leader is a kind of big thing to do, So I usually keep saying to guys, just be careful, And I think the good leaders, they really have to take both sides into consideration, business part of the rep and also the private part. So yeah, being in the trenches, understanding the pain, but also being empathetic and having a long conversations with your reps in one-on-one coaching sessions is super powerful. So that would be my take on this.
That's super powerful. I need a few seconds to appreciate everything that you said. It sounds like you invest in your sales reps constantly. What are some things that you do to upskill yourself? Obviously, you come with a significant background and experience, but you mentioned you continue to learn constantly. I do that myself, but what are the things that you're doing to remain top of the bracket?
Yeah, I mean, you have to stay relevant, especially tech sales is changing so fast that if one very important trait that I look for in SDRs is like curiosity over being right. You don't have to be right, but you have to be curious. You always have to question. You always have to test. Is it A/B testing your subject line or A/B testing email body or like whatever you need to keep testing, maybe different ICP, different industry you want to try reaching out to. And this curiosity element is very important. Going back to resources, yeah, obviously I follow some creators on LinkedIn that I find a great value in their content. I reach out to them. We often exchange some links. I read different reports. There are so many free resources. You really don't have to pay. Obviously, if I show you, there is always some book underneath my table. I read books pretty much. I read 2 or 3 books at the same time. And they are not just business related. I read books about coaching. Right now, I have the coaching one, Bill Campbell, the great coaching guy. So I read books about coaching. I read books about SDRs, but I also read some books outside the business because I want to widen my perspectives. And, if you want to be empathetic, as I mentioned before, if you want to really have a clear communication with your reps, you have to have a widen perspective. So asking your reps, what are their hobbies, what are their passions, what would they like to do outside of the work. That empathetic approach is a good leadership style. And I get all these inspirations by reading books. Now, we mentioned podcasts, and why I have such a great motivation to start hosting SDR Hire Podcast is because, I always watch podcasts. I still do, maybe not as frequent as I was doing it at the beginning of my career in tech sales, but I regularly watch podcasts and I just find so much value. So reading books, watching podcasts, following some great people on LinkedIn, and pretty much, so many free sources. From time to time, I paid some courses. I like paying certain things because I did then get even higher value. You don't get everything for free. You sometimes you have to put some effort. It's either like in financial terms or like effort in terms of time or energy you need to dedicate. But I don't have any problem paying for courses. As a matter of fact, I paid for one great SDR leadership boot camp 2 months ago, and it took 8 weeks. So it was rather long, rather demanding, but it helped me so much improve my leadership skills. So guys, if you want to stay relevant, yes, keep going and keep searching for resources, but don't hesitate to invest some money as well, because that investments will always pay back.
Yep. You said it. You said everything. So there are a lot of things that I think everybody wants to know about you, but we'll just leave it for the future episodes.
Yeah.
Until then, where can people find you? You mentioned LinkedIn.
Yeah, basically LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm quite active there. I don't post every day. I don't chase. I don't chase likes and followers. You will see that. I just share the content with a first-hand experience. So I just share the content that really happened to me. So I don't share the content that I read from somewhere or I heard from somebody. That happened to me. I share the content that worked well for me, but I also share the content that did not work well for me, because I think the part of the failure is also important. Sometimes I get a bit irritated by some of the folks on LinkedIn always kind of telling about all these good things. We are all crushing sales quota. We are all making 7-figure business. We are all, crushing and getting promotions, and we are all doing great. And, we know that the reality of 2023, and it's most likely going to be the beginning of 2024, is quite different. Like I believe that only the statistics at least show that only 54% of sales reps are hitting quota nowadays. So 46% are below the quota, and they are being way below the quota. And we know there are so many layoffs, and so the reality is a little bit different. So in my post, they're gonna hear the true story, what worked well, what doesn't work well, but it's really a first-hand experience, and I'm glad that some of the people find this useful, and I can tell that from the comments, from the impressions and likes and comments that I'm getting from all of them, and that really drives me to keep posting. I usually post 2 or 3 times a week, not more than that.
That's perfect.
I don't have time. I have a regular job at Deck Robot, and that's my number one priority.
Of course. Amazing. Okay, before we wrap it up, do you want to send a message to the audience?
Okay, so I'm starting this SDR Hire Podcast, so kind of excited, about this. Hopefully I'll be at least close to as good host as you were, Stefan. You've been nailing it for so long, and I don't know if I can keep up the same level as you, but I'll try my best. Hopefully, I will keep bringing the content that resonates with my audience, and most importantly, content that helps new SDRs break into tech sales, or if we are talking about existing SDRs, hopefully to accelerate their careers and crush their sales quotas and get promotions. So that's all we talk really about. So looking forward to start bringing to the podcast some of the top performing SDRs and some of the most recognized and most successful SDR leaders and account executives, VP of sales included. So happy for the period that is ahead of me, to be honest.
Love it, man. Love it. Let's finish 2023 strong and kick off 24 as best as we can. Amazing,
yes.
man. Love it. Love it. All right. I'll see you again in a few days. And for the rest of the audience, that's a wrap. Thank you for being with us. And yeah, enjoy the content that we're going to be putting out for you. Take care.
Looking forward. Bye-bye, guys.